Before we begin this gripping story of war and courage, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible moments from history. It was a quiet Sunday morning in Hawaii. The U.S. Pacific Fleet rested peacefully, unaware that death was approaching from the skies. Across the vast Pacific Ocean, 6 Japanese aircraft carriers sailed silently toward their target, carrying hundreds of warplanes ready for destruction. The mastermind behind the operation was Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, who believed that only a decisive blow could cripple the United States Navy. At Pearl Harbor, sailors laughed, played cards, and wrote letters home. The calm before the storm was almost too peaceful to believe. At dawn, Japanese pilots climbed into their cockpits. Engines roared to life as the first wave of bombers took off into the mist. On Oahu, a U.S. radar station detected incoming aircraft, but officers dismissed it as a flight of friendly bombers from California. At exactly 7:48 a.m., the first bombs fell. Explosions shattered the silence. Pearl Harbor was under attack. A massive bomb tore through the deck of the USS Arizona, igniting its ammunition. The ship erupted into a fireball, killing over 1,000 men. Nearby, the USS Oklahoma took multiple torpedo hits. Within minutes, she rolled onto her side, trapping hundreds of sailors below deck. Japanese torpedo planes swept low over the harbor, releasing their deadly cargo with precision and speed. American gunners rushed to their stations, firing blindly into the sky as enemy planes roared overhead. Black smoke filled the air. Burning oil spread across the water, turning the harbor into a sea of fire. Medics and volunteers worked desperately to save the wounded, using shirts, belts, and rags to stop the bleeding. From above, Japanese pilots watched the harbor burning and radioed back, "Tora, Tora, Tora," the signal for total surprise achieved. Despite the chaos, a few American pilots managed to take off, engaging the enemy in fierce dogfights over Oahu. At Hickam and Wheeler airfields, parked planes exploded one after another, destroyed before they could even lift off. Then came the second wave, another 170 aircraft to finish what the first had begun. The USS California and USS West Virginia were hit repeatedly, sinking slowly beneath the burning harbor. From nearby homes, civilians watched in horror as explosions echoed across the island. Dock workers and civilians joined the fight, grabbing rifles, manning guns, and firing back at the attackers. By 10 a.m., the attack was over. The Japanese planes turned for home, leaving a harbor in ruins. The once proud Pacific Fleet was now a graveyard of twisted steel, thick smoke, and oil-slicked water. In Washington, President Franklin D. Roosevelt received the devastating news. America had been struck without warning. That night, Roosevelt prepared his speech, determined to unite a grieving nation. The next day, millions of Americans gathered around their radios to hear his voice tremble with anger and resolve. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked. Congress erupted in applause and fury. Within minutes, America declared war on Japan. Across the country, men lined up to enlist. Factories began turning out planes, ships, and weapons for the fight ahead. Women filled the factories, working day and night to build the machines of war. The entire nation was mobilized. Meanwhile, the Japanese fleet returned home in triumph, believing they had secured victory. But the U.S. aircraft carriers, the true power of the fleet, had been away at sea, untouched by the attack. Those carriers would soon lead the counterattack, turning the tide at the Battle of Midway. Japanese leaders soon realized their mistake. They had awakened an enemy far stronger than they imagined. Newspapers screamed the headlines, "Japan attacks Pearl Harbor," shocking every corner of America. The attack shattered isolationism. Americans united with one voice, demanding justice and victory. Survivors of the attack would carry those memories forever, the fire, the screams, and the courage. In the months that followed, crews worked tirelessly to raise the sunken ships and recover the fallen. Over 2,400 Americans had been killed that morning, sailors, soldiers, and civilians. Even some Japanese pilots later admitted they knew that day Japan had awakened a sleeping giant. Today, Pearl Harbor lies peaceful again. The calm waters hide the scars of that terrible morning. The USS Arizona Memorial stands above the sunken ship, a silent tribute to those who never returned. Visitors from around the world lay flowers and whisper prayers, honoring the fallen. Pearl Harbor was more than an attack. It was a turning point that changed the course of history. From that day forward, the U.S. fought across the Pacific, determined to bring the war to Japan's doorstep. For years later, the war ended, but the flames ignited at Pearl Harbor would shape the world forever. The survivors grew old, but their courage remains timeless, a symbol of strength and sacrifice. 80 years later, the echoes of that morning still remind us of the price of peace. December 7th, 1941, the day America awoke and the world changed forever. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories from history's darkest hours.